Hey, I want you to think about the last time you got into a really stupid argument. Maybe it was with your partner about what year a movie came out, or in a work meeting, defending a point long after you realized it might not be the best one. Or maybe it was just scrolling through comments, your finger poised to type a fiery reply to a stranger. That feeling, that intense, almost physical need to prove you're right, it's powerful. In the moment, it feels like winning. It feels like strength. But what if that feeling is a trap? What if the very thing that feels like a victory in the moment is secretly costing you? In your relationships, your growth, and even your peace of mind. This is the hidden danger of always needing to be right. So why does it feel so good to be right, and so deeply unsettling to be wrong? It turns out, this isn't just a personality quirk. It's rooted in our very biology. When we prove a point or have our beliefs confirmed, our brain rewards us with a shot of dopamine. That's the same neurochemical associated with pleasure we get from a good meal or a win. So, on a fundamental level, being right is chemically rewarding. It literally feels like we're winning. But the flip side is just as powerful. When our beliefs or statements are challenged, our brain often interprets that not as a simple disagreement, but as a genuine threat. This triggers the amygdala, the part of our brain responsible for the fight or flight response. It's the same alarm system that was crucial for our ancestors facing physical danger. So when someone disagrees with us, our body can subconsciously prepare for a fight, making us defensive, agitated, and closed off. This is where our ego steps in and complicates everything. Over time, we don't just have opinions. We fuse our identity with them. Our ideas about politics, our parenting style, our taste in movies, or how we do our job become part of who we are. So, an attack on our idea isn't processed as feedback on a thought. It feels like an attack on us. We aren't just defending a point. We're defending ourselves. It's crucial to understand this. The drive to be right isn't a sign that you're a bad or argumentative person. It's a sign that you're human, operating with a brain that's wired for certainty and self-protection. But the good news is, we are not slaves to this wiring. We can learn to recognize these primal signals for what they are and choose a different, more productive path. The real problem isn't the occasional desire to be correct. It's the cumulative toll this need takes when it becomes a default way of operating. The first, and perhaps most profound cost, is to our own growth. When you approach every conversation from a place of already knowing, you quietly shut the door on curiosity. You stop asking questions, you stop listening to understand, and you close yourself off to the new information and different perspectives that are essential for learning. As Stephen Hawking famously noted, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, but the illusion of knowledge. You can remain stuck in a version of reality that feels safe and certain, but is ultimately incomplete and stagnant. This habit doesn't just wall you off from new ideas, it walls you off from people. Think about what it feels like to be on the other side of a conversation with someone who has to be right. You feel dismissed, unheard, and invalidated. Over time, this dynamic is corrosive to relationships. You might win the debate about whose memory of a vacation is accurate, but you lose a little bit of trust and connection in the process. The people close to you begin to pull away, sharing less and resisting more, because interacting with you feels like a battle to be fought rather than a connection to be made. The price of victory is often loneliness. This extends directly into our professional lives, where the need to be right can lead to dangerously poor decisions. When a leader or a team member is unable to entertain dissent, it creates an environment where people don't feel psychologically safe to speak up. Why would anyone risk pointing out a potential flaw or proposing a better idea if they know it will be met with defensiveness or dismissal? This silence leads to groupthink, where the desire for harmony overrides critical thinking and teams can march unquestioned toward entirely preventable failures. And perhaps the most personal cost is the constant, grinding stress it creates within you. The mental energy required to constantly defend your position, to monitor conversations for potential challenges, and to manage the internal tension of cognitive dissonance is exhausting. Your nervous system is perpetually on alert, engaged in a low-grade conflict, not just with the world outside, but with yourself. The need to be right keeps you in a state of siege, which is no way to live a peaceful or happy life. So, if this drive is so natural and yet so costly, what can we do about it? The most powerful antidote is a quality called intellectual humility. This is simply the ability to recognize that your knowledge and beliefs might be wrong, or at least incomplete. It's not about thinking less of yourself, but about thinking of yourself less in the conversation. Embracing this is not a sign of weakness, but of profound strength. It takes a secure person to say, "I don't know," or "I hadn't considered that." This shift from certainty to curiosity is a practical one, and you can start with a few simple mind hacks. The first is to adopt a simple internal mantra: "I could be wrong." Just saying this to yourself before you respond to a challenge completely changes your mental posture. It softens the defensive walls and opens the door to other possibilities without you having to surrender your position. Next, change your default question. Instead of leading with your argument, try asking, "Help me understand your perspective." This single phrase shifts the dynamic from a confrontation to an exploration. You are no longer two opponents facing off, but temporarily on the same side, investigating an idea together. It makes the other person feel valued, and often reveals the underlying reasons for their point of view. When you find yourself in a discussion with someone you profoundly disagree with, try a more advanced exercise. Make it your goal to find the 10%. Instead of listening for everything that's wrong in their argument, actively search for the small fraction of what they're saying that might be true, logical, or reasonable from their point of view. This is not about conceding your entire position. It's about building a bridge of empathy. Finding that small piece of common ground completely transforms the interaction and often de-escalates the entire conflict. Finally, and this is perhaps the most liberating step, practice separating your identity from your opinions. You are not your ideas. You are the thinker who holds them. And a thinker can always change their mind when presented with new evidence. Remember that letting go of a bad idea doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a growing person. Your worth is not tied to being right. It's tied to your capacity to learn, to connect, and to evolve. Now, it's important to pause here and offer a crucial nuance. Cultivating intellectual humility and letting go of the need to be right is not about becoming a passive pushover or abandoning your core values. There are absolutely times when it is not just appropriate, but essential, to stand your ground. This applies to matters of fundamental ethics, your core personal boundaries, and situations where safety or critical facts are on the line. Think of an engineer insisting on a safety check before a launch, or a person upholding a non-negotiable boundary in a relationship. In these moments, asserting what is right is a responsibility. The key difference lies in your intent. The question to ask yourself is, am I fighting to understand the situation and ensure the best possible outcome, or am I fighting to win and protect my ego? In a true matter of principle or safety, the goal is external. It's about the well-being of others, the integrity of a process, or the truth of a critical fact. The drive comes from a place of care and responsibility. When it's just about ego, the goal is internal. It's about self-protection and validation. Learning to discern this difference within yourself is the final, and perhaps most important, part of breaking free from the hidden danger. So, to bring it all together, the need to be right is a deep-seated natural instinct. It's a primal drive that can feel like strength, but as we've seen, it often stunts our growth. damages our most important relationships, and leads to poor decisions. The way out of this trap isn't through trying to be more right, but through embracing curiosity and intellectual humility. It comes down to a simple but powerful shift in perspective. Remember, the goal is rarely to win the argument. The goal is to win the truth, and, just as importantly, to preserve the connection. This isn't just an idea to consider, it's a practice. So here's my challenge for you this week. In just one conversation, when you feel that familiar heat rise, that urge to dig in and prove your point, I want you to pause. Take a breath, and instead of stating your case, ask one simple, curious question. It could be, help me understand, or can you tell me more about that? Just one question. See what opens up. Notice how it changes the dynamic. If this conversation resonated with you, and you're interested in more content about mastering your mind and improving your relationships, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I would genuinely love to hear from you. Down in the comments, tell me, what is one area where you find it hardest to let go of being right? Is it with your partner, at work, or online? I read every single comment. Thank you for watching.